The door slams shut behind you. The crash of iron hitting the frame sends a hollow shudder through the entire corridor. It's 4:17 p.m., second tier of C block. The fluorescent lights glow white. Paint peels from the walls. The air smells like bleach, sweat, and moldy mattresses. You clutch a clear plastic bag holding 2 orange uniforms, a plastic spoon, and a roll of toilet paper. You haven't even had time to put it down before everyone is already looking at you. They are not curious. They are pricing you. An older inmate named Marlowe walks toward you, a scar running from the base of his ear to his jaw. He presses a tightly rolled old sock into your hand. The bottom is swollen, packed with a hard bar of soap, old batteries, whatever else adds weight. It feels like a rock. Before you can ask, Marlowe lifts his chin. At the entrance of the shower room, another new inmate is on his knees, blood running from his nose, one hand braced against the floor, shoulders trembling. 3 hits, Marlowe says. Teach him how bunk tax works. That is when you understand the first thing you give up here is not your name. It is your position. If you do not hit him, you are the one getting hit tonight. If you do, you are never that kind of newcomer again. No one rushes you. No one speaks for you. The cruelest part of prison is not that someone forces you to choose. It is that everyone waits in silence for you to choose on your own. When you bring the sock down the first time, the man curls into himself. The second time, you hear someone behind you let out a soft laugh. After the third, your palm is slick with sweat and your stomach turns. But you do not stand there frozen. You hand the sock back like you are returning a borrowed hammer. There is still blood on the bottom of it. Marlowe watches you for 2 seconds, nods, gives you the lower bunk in C214 and half a pack of peanut butter crackers. That is the first rule of the first level. No one asks what kind of man you are. They only care whether you are willing to hurt someone for the order they live by. That night at 9:41 p.m., just before lights out, someone leaves you room at the sink. Someone lets you pass the bathroom line. Someone nods at you for the first time. You do not earn respect. You are simply allowed to exist. The next day, people start giving you small jobs. Stand lookout by the stairs. Slip a note into the hidden compartment of the book cart. Hide a stolen razor blade beneath a tray of bread in the chow hall. You tell yourself, you are only a runner, not a violent man. You are just moving things from one place to another. But you know better. The system has already touched your hand. It knows you will cooperate. A week later, you learn what really circulates here. Not dollars, not time. Bread, coffee, cigarettes, painkillers, phone privileges, and other people's fear of you. Every Monday at 2 p.m., commissary is handed out. Plastic bags slide one by one under the steel window, filled with tuna cans, instant oats, peanut butter, and cheap shampoo. This is also when the whole tier gets quiet, because everyone knows collection begins now. Marlowe hands you a wrinkled yellow memo pad. On it are only cell numbers, nicknames, and figures. B12, 12 packs. C09, 6. D03, storage fee for 1 phone. No one says debt here. They say not paid in full. You go to B12 to find Dean. He weighs 240 pounds, has a faded eagle tattoo on his left arm, and sits on his bunk eating tuna as if you are not there. He says he will pay tomorrow. You stare at him for 3 seconds, drag his mattress off the top bunk, throw it to the floor, then tear in half the 2 pictures of his children tucked beneath his pillow. The whole tier watches. You do not lay a hand on him. Deem stands up, breathing harder, but he does not throw a punch, because he knows you are not there to fight him. You are there to tell everyone who can stall and who cannot. At 12:26 a.m., he walks barefoot to your bunk and places 12 packs of ramen down in a perfect row, adds 2 packets of oats, and leaves a slip of paper with a phone number on it. He does not apologize. You do not humiliate him. You just nod. The rule of the second level is simple. Real enforcement is not knocking someone flat. It is making him bring the payment before you ever have to touch him. From then on, you start handling things with more value. A phone hidden inside the hardcover of a law book, 3 blister packs of painkillers coming out of medical, a screenshot of an $800 transfer from outside. And little by little, you learn who breaks easiest, who fears pain, who fears hunger, who fears his wife missing a call, who fears his son seeing him kneel behind the visitation glass. You start to understand. Fists are the cheapest tool. Information and leverage come next. A man's weak spot is the most valuable thing of all. By the third level, you are no longer just collecting for someone else. You begin deciding how collections are made. The prison laundry room on Wednesday nights has no cameras. When all 8 dryers are running, the sheet metal walls hum like drums. You can shout in there and no one outside hears a word. The first time Marlowe gives you that room, the meaning is clear. You are no longer just useful. You are becoming trusted. A kid named Reggie skims $3,000 from a shipment on the outside. The money is beyond the walls, but he is not. He thinks that as long as he is in here, no one can reach it. You take him into the laundry room. No knife, no crowd, just 2 men you trust most. You give him 2 choices. Have someone on the outside deliver the money by noon tomorrow, or starting tonight, he eats last every meal, showers last every time, and anyone walking past his bunk can take one thing from it. He spits at you. You do not lose your temper. You turn your head, let it miss, then signal for the men behind you to slam him against a dryer. You pin his hand down and say, very calmly, "If that money doesn't show up today, you use your left hand for everything from now on." That is not a threat. That is a price. At 11:08 the next morning, the money arrives. For the first time, you truly understand the rule of the third level. Do not kill the man. Create a memory of fear. Making people remember the cost is more useful than making them bleed. Blood dries. Memory does not. You grow quieter after that. You eat faster. You sleep lighter. You stop giving your back to any door. You no longer ask whether something is right. You ask whether not doing it will make you look weak. You begin losing your innocence more easily than you imagined. Not all at once, one incident at a time, until one day you realize it has been a long time since you felt sorry for anyone. What really moves you upward is not a single act of violence. It is when you begin putting a price on chaos. At 6:53 p.m. on Friday, the edges of the prison basketball court are packed. A block and C block are clashing over 30 minutes of court time. On the surface, it is about basketball. In truth, it is about who controls the kitchen line and who controls the pills. One side controls leftover meat from the chow hall. The other controls painkillers coming out of medical. Whoever backs down today gets squeezed for the next 3 months. The guards stand on the second-tier walkway and watch, like they are getting a free show. As long as no one dies, they are happy to let inmates maintain order for them. It is easier that way. They call you over not to fight, but to decide how the fighting happens and when it stops. You step to the edge of the court and raise a hand. Everything goes quiet. You say, "No knives tonight, fists only. 3 minutes." The side still standing gets 2 weeks of laundry priority and the Saturday phone list. No one argues, because behind you stand 10 men willing to enforce whatever you say. The fight lasts 2 minutes and 28 seconds. One jaw is knocked out of place, one knee is broken, 2 teeth roll across the concrete. No one dies, and the traffic lines keep moving the next day. The guards file only 2 minor injury reports. For the first time, you handle violence like a manager instead of a thug, not by unleashing it, but by locking it inside a rule. After that, you start charging management fees. Want a new cell? $40. Want earlier access to medical? 3 boxes of coffee. You do not need to take everything, just a little. Because real power is not taking all a man has. It is making sure he knows you could. You start noticing you sit beside fewer people at meals. It is not that no one dares come close. It is that anyone who comes too close gets marked with you. The higher you rise, the more empty space forms around you. Level 4 makes you mature. It also teaches you that climbing upward does not make your world bigger. It makes the ground beneath you smaller. The day Marlowe gets moved to segregation, it is 6:03 a.m. No goodbye, no speech. Just one look before they take him away, and one sentence. "Don't love anything in here." Before noon, people are already lining up. Some offer cigarettes. Some test your limits. One man deliberately drops his tray at your feet in the chow hall. Power never stays vacant. Whoever takes the seat has to prove immediately he is not temporary. You take over all of C Block. 4 tiers, 186 inmates, 9 collection points, 2 phone lines, 1 pill line, plus the weekly flow of beef, sugar, and plastic bags coming out of the kitchen. The ledger in your head is no longer written on paper. It is written across backs and faces. Who can fight? Who gambles? Who will betray you? Who fears segregation? Who still has family outside willing to send money? You remember all of it. The rule of the 5th level is no longer force. It is distribution. You put the most reckless men on the far stairwell. You let the greediest ones touch the least money. You break a $5,000 gambling debt into 5 separate collections so no one sees the whole picture. You split one phone into 3 parts of control. One man keeps the device, one keeps the battery, one remembers the password. You start thinking like a real ruler, not how to win once, but how to keep everyone else from ever assembling enough force to strike at you. You also give your first order to make someone disappear. Not killed, deleted from the order. His name is Raymond, loose mouth, addict, keeps attaching your name to outside business. You do not touch him, and you do not let anyone else touch him either. You simply tell everyone to ignore him. No soap sold to him, no phone lent to him, no seat beside him in the chow hall, no warnings about searches or movement. 3 days later, he is pounding on a wall, begging the guards to put him in segregation. For the first time, you see that you do not need blood to destroy a man. At 1:11 a.m., you lie in bed staring at the cracks in the ceiling. You have finally reached the position other people wanted. You have command, resources, men working under you. But you cannot remember the last time you were truly relaxed. You gain the whole block, and you hand yourself over to. At the 6th level, the men in uniform start coming to you too. A deputy warden named Harding looks at you twice during inspection. The next day, A full bag of imported coffee appears on your bunk, untouched by anyone else. On the third day, a sharpened toothbrush that should have been confiscated never appears on any report. That is when you understand. Prison has never been two separate systems. It has always been one. Before, you could only see the inmate side of it. Now you have touched the hand behind the wall. Someone wants a snitch silenced. Someone wants an inmate scheduled for a media interview to get sick for 2 days. Someone wants two factions to stop fighting before state inspectors arrive. There are no documents, no direct orders, only signals. At 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, a certain door closes 10 seconds late. At 7 p.m. on Thursday, a certain camera happens to be under maintenance. You do not need confirmation. You just need to understand. For the first time, you make real money. Not bread, not a few $100s. 40,000 a week, broken into 3 payments, moving through a construction company, a used car lot, and a woman you have never met. None of it touches your name. The cleaner the money looks, the filthier the work behind it. You learn not to do things yourself anymore. You send others to act, then arrange the consequences afterward. Who goes to medical? Who gets segregation? Who ends up listed in the report as the aggressor? All of that becomes a weapon. By this level, violence rarely makes a sound. You dress cleaner. Your laces are always tied. Your shirt is never marked with blood. You do not gamble. You do not drink. You do not show real anger. You cannot afford carelessness because you know too many secrets. The 6th level does not give you freedom. It gives you permanent alertness. By the 7th level, conflicts across the entire prison begin moving around you instead of through you. Not because you are the most brutal, because no one knows exactly how much you hold. Some say you can shut off hot water to an entire row of cells. Some say you can make a parole packet disappear on the final day. Others say you have dirt on 7 guards, 2 lawyers, and 1 contractor. Truth does not matter anymore. Rumor itself has become power. You stop waiting for trouble to happen. You handle it before it begins. 2 gangs are about to go to war over phone order, so you send one leader a photograph of his son and say only, if you want to see him graduate in person, you wait until Friday. Somewhere else, a witness who plans to change his testimony starts getting nervous, so you have his cellmate whisper at 3:12 a.m. that someone knows his mother lives in apartment 47 on a certain block. The next day, he says nothing. You begin handing out consequences like a judge, listening to confessions like a priest, and arranging endings like an executioner. The only difference is that here, there is no courtroom, no Bible, and no real forgiveness. You speak less and less, because the more you say, the more people can find inside your words. You are always surrounded, yet no one is ever truly near you. You no longer have friends, only layers. You no longer have rest, only short stretches when nothing has gone wrong yet. A 17-year-old new inmate arrives, thin as wire, eyes still not trained to look away. He looks at you as if you are some kind of answer. One glance tells you everything. Either he will make you into his protector or into his target. Both are dangerous. You do not touch him. You let him live for now, because by this level, you know the highest form of control is not striking immediately. It is letting people walk into the road you laid out for them. By the 8th level, you barely leave the chipped table in the deepest corner of the prison library. Wednesday, 1:40 p.m. Sunlight cuts down from the high windows and falls across the scar on the back of your hand. Your right shoulder tightens every time the weather turns damp. You wake up at 2 a.m. almost every night. No one dares sit directly across from you. Anyone who wants to see you writes a name in a blue notebook and has it passed in through other hands. You do not really feel like a man anymore. You feel like weather. Whether a fight happens or not no longer depends on anger. It depends on whether you nod. Who gets a shipment line no longer depends on who is tougher. It depends on whether you allow it. Some want revenge. Some want survival. Some just want to last until their parole hearing. In the end, all of them come through you. You do not touch knives. You do not touch pills. You do not touch money. You touch consequences. You say, "Quiet today," and 3 tears fall silent. You remove one name from a list, and within 2 weeks, that man loses his place to eat, his place to shower, his place to sleep, until he finally breaks. You reach the highest point and understand the truth waiting there. Power is not the freedom to do whatever you want. Power is being chained forever to the consequences of everything you allow. You think you are controlling the prison. The truth is, the prison is using your name to keep itself alive. At night, when the whole tier goes still, you sometimes hear the pipes trembling in the walls like an old machine still grinding away inside the building. You know there is no going back. You are not serving time anymore. You are the invisible law inside this place. As long as you exist, many men can sleep. And because you exist, many others never sleep well again. Then one morning, a door slams at the end of the corridor. 10:08 a.m. A new transfer list arrives. A young man in his early 20s is shoved inside, shoelaces not fully removed, a fresh bruise crusted on his face, a rolled mattress and clear plastic bag in his arms. He tries to hold his back straight, trying to look unafraid, but you can see it clearly. He still has no idea that every pair of eyes here is already pricing him, calculating what he is worth, how many hits it will take to make him bow, who he will speak for. He looks up, and his eyes collide with yours. He thinks he has just entered a prison. You know better. What he has entered is not a building. It is an order that will name him, skin him, and decide his price. First comes bunk tax, then running errands, then collecting, rule-making, distributing, cooperating, judging, until one day he too will sit in some quiet corner watching another new man pushed through the door, and it will feel like looking at himself years ago. You do not speak. You just watch. Across the corridor, as another Marlowe walks toward him and presses a tightly rolled old sock into his hand. The cycle continues.